Hey everyone, and welcome back. Let's set up the drop item function, and we're going to do this in our inventory component. Before I do, I just want to drag the split stack function to the public category, and that's that. I'll then create a new function called drop item. I'll give it an input of type sInventorySlot. And I'll call this item to drop. I'm going to break this structure and get access to our quantity, our index, and our data asset. So I'll uncheck ID and the reference to our inventory. And then I need to access the interaction class. So let's say you drop an item on the ground, you should be able to pick it back up whenever you need to. So I'll open my content drawer. Within the inventory folder, create a new folder for actors, and this will be our interaction base actor. So I'll right click, create a new blueprint class, and select actor. I'll call this BP interaction base. In here, I want to add a reference to our data asset so that when we spawn this item on the ground, it should contain all the data that we need. It should pass the data from the inventory to the actor, I should say then. So I'm going to create this variable. I'm going to call this data asset. I'm going to call of type PDA item settings object reference. Compile and save. And now we can close this. Next, we need to open up our data assets folder and open up the primary data asset and create a variable to match the interaction base. So I'll call this interaction class, and this will be of type interaction base class reference. By default, it's none, and that's fine. But since we created our custom class for this and not just class of type actor, it won't show the large hierarchy of actors that you can get when you search for any actor within Unreal Engine. It'll only show of this type. Back in the AC inventory, from the data asset, we can check if the interaction class is valid. So let's get it. We can convert it to a validated get as well. I guess we can do that, or we can use the isValidClass function. Then we can add a branch, and only if the class that we spawned or we're trying to drop is valid should it be spawned. So basically, you don't want to try to spawn an item that doesn't have an interaction class in it. And if you're trying to do that, then the engine should give you an error that says, hey, your item's data asset is missing. Your interaction class is missing, sorry. So I'm going to call interaction class not found and give it a red color so we know it's an error. And now let's continue. Off of the true pin, we can do a for loop. And the last index would be our slots quantity. The first index should be 1. It should never be 0 because 0 means we don't have anything at all. And then we can just call the spawn actor from class function. And the class that we want is the interaction class. So let's plug this up. And we'll need a way to tell the engine where to spawn these actors. And we'll need a function for that. So let's create a new function called calculate drop transform. This will take an output of type transform. And I'm going to call this return value. I'll make this function pure and head over to my drop item function again. I'll drag this function in, connect this to the transform, and you can see that the error has gone away. So when all of these items are spawned successfully, then we want to empty the previous slot because it's no longer in our inventory. So from the completed pin, we can call the function remove item from slot index. And then we can call our return node here, connect it, and that's that. For the index, this will come from the index from our broken structure from the input of the function. So to see this properly without having to set a class, we can do a draw debug sphere. We can then get the calculate drop transform function, split it to get the location, plug in the location, give it a radius of something like 50. I'm going to put a color of like yellow, a duration of 3 and a thickness of 1. So when we spawn or drop the items, it will be displayed on the ground and we can see it, because right now we don't have any mesh on any items or anything like that. Let's open up item options. I'm going to override the drop item on clicked event. I'll then duplicate these two variables. From the AC inventory, I'm going to call drop item. Connect this up, connect the inventory slot. I'm going to call a branch. By the way, if you don't know how to access a branch, you can just hold the B button and left click to call it. And when this has dropped successfully and item was removed from the initial slot, then we can just connect this to the isValid pin right here. So I'm just going to bring this down a bit, drag this here, and connect this to your true pin. Right, so we're done with this. Now let's open up the test item and set the interaction class to be interaction base. Just for now, because right now if you try to drop the item, it will fail and it will say interaction class not found because we did not set a class. So with this base class already set, we can just hit play. We can add an item. And if I right click and hit drop and I close my inventory and look for it, we cannot see anything. It showed to the bottom here, and that's because we did not set up the calculate drop transform function. So let's do that now, so we can be spawned directly in front of the player character instead of at its root. Open up AC inventory and open up the calculate drop transform function. It's going to be short, so don't worry. I'm going to get my owner of this component. From the owner, I'm going to get the actor location. Not set, but get actor location. I'm also going to get his forward vector. So because we want this to be placed within a radius of, let's say, 90 degrees. So anywhere in front of him, so we can see it when it's spawned in the world. And then I'll call a function called random unit vector in cone in degrees. I'm going to call this from the actor forward vector. So let's search for the random unit vector in cone in degrees, not radians. Alright, this one. And I'm going to give a half cone angle of 90 degrees. And then I want this to be placed slightly forward. So I'll then multiply this by a float. And this will be how far in front of the player you want to spawn this, or how far within the radius you want this from the character's initial position. So I'll do 250 units in distance. And then I'll add that back on to the actor's current location. I'll then split the output because we don't need access to the Z. We don't want this to spawn into the ground. We only want it to spawn within the X and the Y values or axis. So from the return node, I'm going to make transform. And I want to split the location and plug in the X and the Y. I'll leave the Z at 0, so it always plays to the ground. And for the rotation, we can leave it at 0, and the scale will always be 1. And now, let's test it. If I add some items, and I drop the stack, you can see it's being placed in front of the character within a cone. Now we have another issue, which is when we try to drop an item, and then close the inventory, it closes fine. But let's say I add some more and then I drop and then I click, it does not give me the option to exit. And this is because right now we are creating the inventory display, but the background, meaning the main canvas panel, is set to non-hit testable. So the mouse basically ignores that widget, at least the interaction. So you can set a default value of visible, and that will fix the issue, but there's another way to do this, and I'll show this later on in this series. So that's it for this one, guys. See you in the next one.